Now that we've finished with our purpose, we're going to look at the plan. The plan is talking about where our data comes from and how reliable it is. We're also going to move on to the data and how you're going to use the data to produce graphs. Now you're going to make sure your graphs are going to be correctly labeled as well. So when we're talking about the plan, we're talking about data reliability. You will get a resource sheet before you get the data, and you'll be able to have a look at where your data is coming from. For this example, I'm using data collected by the physics department at Otago University. This is their website here. They have their own weather station in Dunedin. I can also see that there are a couple of other websites that I should also be looking at. So when I'm discussing data reliability, I'm only going to write a small part. I'm going to answer these questions. Where has my data come from? So we're just going to specifically say what we've got on the resource sheet. And we're going to discuss, is it a reliable source for our investigation? And we should discuss possible reliability issues. So if I'm talking about data from the Otago University weather station, I can tell you that it has been sourced from the University of Otago's weather station archives. It is a random sample of 460 weather measurements for the year of 2016. Now, all of that information, if we just skip back, is given on this page. It is collected from the Otago University website in their archives, and I will have access to a random sample of 460 weather measurements. Now we talk about data reliability. Is this a reliable source? Now, the information that I got here to make this discussion happen was I went onto the Otago University website, which was also provided to me. And what I found is that there are two other weather stations maintained by the New Zealand Met Service in Dunedin, but their locations are more exposed than the university station. The university station is surrounded by hills and is in northern Dunedin. So this means that I will have some reliability issues in making an inference that relates to all of Dunedin or further Otago without actually going into comparison data from the Met Service. So that's all I need for my plan. I just need to say where my data's come from and is it reliable. Websites such as Wikipedia is not a reliable source of data, but you shouldn't be provided with this data at the time of your assessment. So once we know where the data's come from and we have access to that data, we need to be able to use it, and we need to produce graphs that are just going to help us make our inference. So this is the data, the variables that were given from the weather data from Otago University. I need to choose one categorical and one numerical variable for my inference investigation. I'll move this down for a minute. I need to use these two variables and put my data into NZ-Grapher. Okay, and the link for NZ-Grapher is here. For the purposes of this particular part of our instructions, I've chosen wind speed as my numerical variable and time as my categorical variable, which is split into morning and afternoon. So it's two categories of morning and afternoon. I will use these to produce the correct graphs. Now, the correct graphs that we have need to be labeled, okay? So, and we have to write this statement. I will use NZ-Grapher to produce the graphs needed to make my comparison in this investigation. Wind speed will be my numerical variable and time will be my categorical variable. This should not be the first time that you're saying what your two variables are. It should be in your purpose as well. I will produce a box and whisker graph, which is this one over here, and I will produce a graph showing the bootstrapped confidence interval, which is this graph over here. Once I've produced these graphs, then I can start my analysis. If you are unsure about using NZ-Grapher, please look at the NZ-Grapher instructional video on the next slide.